What's up guys, it's USA Specialist and Season 4's map Flashpoint is the quick-paced, high-risk chaos we've all been waiting for. Enemy is down!
With no country left to fight for.
The US and Russia are both being accused of fielding armed no-pats in an escalating fight over vital resources.
Battlefield 2042's newest map, Flashpoint, is an homage to the desert maps of Battlefield 3 and Battlefield 4. However, while the map looks and at times feels akin to something like Operation Firestorm, Flashpoint introduces a ton of tight, action-packed corridors and a healthy amount of verticality that is much better handled than maps like Exposure. So, like is tradition, hit subscribe and let's dive into the good, the bad, and the ugly of Battlefield 2042's newest map, Flashpoint. Off the bat, Flashpoint looks and feels amazing. Taking a page from Operation Firestorm and combining it with the complexity of something like Zavad, Flashpoint feels a lot more grounded and militaristic than the beautiful maps we've become accustomed to with Battlefield 2042. While it shares the desert environment of Renewal, Flashpoint is far more gritty, realistic, and down to earth, feeling more like something troops would fight over today. The level of detail even on console is amazing. There's a lot more trash, rust, painted signage, and detailed lighting inside of its many buildings, and because of that, the fighting feels much more mature. The environment feels relatable and simple in contrast to the bombastic art direction of maps like Stranded that feel so outlandish that those maps make the world feel like a video game, something I think can take the players out of the immersion. But with Flashpoint, this realistic approach can also be felt throughout the gameplay, as each corridor, building, and item of cover feels purposeful like it's a real place. Again, in contrast, think about the buildings on Kaleidoscope. They're big, empty, and totally void of any life. Meanwhile, Flashpoint has a real energy to it, even featuring jets flying by in the skybox. It really feels down to earth, and it feels like you're part of something much bigger than the match you're playing. Now, while realism often doesn't make for great gameplay, the level of complexity and detail this approach brings to the map often amplifies the gunfights. When I criticize Spearhead for having boring interiors, the buildings, corridors, and alleyways of Flashpoint were exactly the sort of areas I was thinking about as great interior design. Flashpoint features a lot of great, tight, head-to-head interiors where players can really settle down and attempt to outwork each other without having to worry about getting third-partied. The hallways, especially the underground tunnels between C, D, and E on Conquest, are damn near perfection. They direct gameplay into tense confrontations while still allowing players choices when they need to back out, duck below ground, or reroute their attack to get behind an enemy.
Keep moving!
Ejection prepped!
We are attacking Delta 1.
Grenade out! Step away! Tango down! Reviving wounded!
All these aspects of tight, head-to-head close-quarters combat, quick, risky elevation, complex, detailed interiors really come together in Conquest. While Rush and 64-player Conquest work, I think Flashpoint really shines on 128-player Conquest. In a very Operation Locker sort of way, very grindy, very head-to-head, and with the ability for an individual player to make complex and game-changing plays. Moving on to the bad, we have to talk about vehicles. While I personally haven't had that bad of a time with vehicles, I can say from my few experiences and the many comments expressed by the community that it appears it would be simply better to remove vehicles from the map. While tanks can often be countered if they enter the objectives, Flashpoint has a lot of high ridges and high roads where they can sit rather uncontested and shell the middle of the map. Helicopters, on the other hand, can easily target infantry as much of the elevation is totally exposed, and moving in between objectives like B and C can be totally exposed for a few hundred yards on the surface. Helicopters have a lot of elevation to hide behind, and because of this are often hard to counter even with something like a Wildcat, which has to sit far out from the objectives to avoid the infantry, thus leaving itself exposed to the air. Overall, air and ground attack vehicles feel out of place and can often disrupt an already hectic map. And speaking of hectic, Flashpoint is a very high risk, high reward style of map. It is very hard to stay alive on and often rewards players who jump in and get aggressive.
We must secure more sectors. The enemy has captured Sector Delta.
From my experience, you need map knowledge and movement above everything else if you're to win, and while that can benefit someone who enjoys close quarters like myself, this has to be an incredibly frustrating map for new players. There's so much going on and you have to throw yourself into the fire, understanding that Flashpoint is not the map for perfect games. It's much more like the grindy style of maps like Locker or Operation Metro. And finally, we have the ugly, and there's no nice way to say this, breakthrough on this map is horrific. I've played about 7 games of breakthrough on this map, defending every time, and it's horrible. The defending team is always crushed, and I have yet to hear of a team winning while on the defending side. Whether it's because of the narrow map design, singular objectives per section, or player spawn locations, something about this map makes it heavily favor the offensive team. And it's a real shame because this map should have some fun areas to push into and hold onto. But in all honesty, I'd recommend you just play Rush or even Conquest. There's a lot of good points about this map, and with its great looks, complex interiors, dedication to lane design, and down-to-earth tone, in many ways it may be my favorite map, even if it's a little chaotic and not a great experience for younger players. But at some point I'll be making a video once again ranking all the maps, so tell me your current rankings below, and for everything else Battlefield, stay tuned and subscribe, and as always, thank you guys for watching.